Good morning, everybody. It's 11 a.m. on a beautiful Sunday morning, and here I am dispelling to you the last bit of knowledge for Unit 7. We're talking about thinking and language. It's going to be one of two vodcasts on the subject, and this is Avery. Everybody say hello. This is my cat, Avery, love of my life, and she can probably be with us, bothering us the entire time. So, today I get to test out a fun new little gadget that I just found. I just figured out how to make my iPad a graphics tablet. So I'm going to get to have all sorts of fun drawing with you through these slides. So let me know what you think. Okay, let's begin. So the first thing we're going to talk about is cognition. We've discussed cognition a little bit before, but we focused on one thing, your memory. And now we're going to look into a bit of the other stuff, particularly problem solving. So your cognition is all your mental activities associated with thinking. That includes memory, that includes knowing, and communicating information. Cognitive psychologists study all of the following. They study creating concepts, solving problems, making decisions, and forming judgments. These are the things that they really get into when they're trying to test the human mind. All right, concepts. This is the first thing that we need to understand. So a concept is kind of like a big umbrella term for an item, and a bunch of other items are housed under it. Over here is a great example of what that is. So this is a mental category or label that represents a class or group of objects, people, or events that share common characteristics or qualities. They help us organize our thinking, and we organize them into different hierarchies. So cars, cats, flowers, chairs, all sorts of things. What the concept is just a broad general rule of thumb on what it is. There's a couple of set rules, and then after that everything's kind of up for grabs, which is why chairs is such a great example, because you can have dining room chairs, you can have desk chairs, office chairs, you can have living room chairs, couches, benches. All these things satisfy this concept of chair. We have artificial concepts. These are man-made constructs. Now, these are squares, right? So that's a terrible square. But squares have 4 corners and 4 right angles. Anything that doesn't have 4 corners and 4 right angles is not considered a square. It is not within that category. So a trapezoid would not be in that category. Concurrently, a square would not be found in the category of trapezoid. Then we have our natural concepts. This is more of what I'm referring to with the birds over here, and with chairs that I was discussing before. We don't have a set of truly defining features that narrows the list, but we have some characteristic features that kind of lump them together. So we have birds, but we can have a chicken, a sparrow, an ostrich, a turkey, and we have chairs. Like I said, we have a variety of chairs. So we compare possible members, entrants to this concept using the prototype. Now this guy over here would be our prototype. And then we find objects that typically represent the natural concept. So he's got wings, he has this nice tail back here, he's got a beak, right? He has 2 little legs, that sort of thing, covered in feathers. And then this guy becomes our prototype. Now everybody who satisfies those characteristics, whatever shape, color, size they are, meets that criterion. So, how's the drawing so far? We liking it? I'm liking it. I'm having a blast. All right, there are steps to problem solving. You all understand them because we did them during our research unit. So you got to understand your problem. You got to plan a solution strategy. You got to carry out your solution, and then you got to evaluate your progress. Is there a better way that you could have done it? I don't know. We would have to try. So the first, problem representation, is a big deal. The way we represent the problem can help or hinder our success. Just as the way that you define your question can help or hinder your success in coming up with an answer. It has to be specific enough and narrow enough that it's achievable, yet it has to be broad enough that we don't exclude any possible solutions. All right, so possible solution strategies. These are great. So say we have algorithms. You've all, I hope, have heard of algorithms because you have them in math class. They're different ways of coming up or finding answers to problems. Now, an algorithm in math class would be solve 5 factorial for me, right? I hope I did that right. No, it's been a long time since math class. But they would actually make you write that out, 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus, whereas, you're just like, Mrs. Bass, let me have a calculator. I also use an algorithm when I play Words with Friends sometimes, and don't tell my sister I do this, and I hope she's never going to watch this video cast, but sometimes I'll have a couple letters I don't really know what to do with, so I will just stick them in. Say there's an O, I'll just put an X next to it and see how many points it's going to give me if I press OK. Or I'll XUT. Maybe that's a word. I don't know. I would give it a try. Whatever one provides me the most points when I am stuck is the one that I go with. And that would be an algorithm. So a heuristic kind of helps me with that. A heuristic is kind of a rule of thumb that I use to simplify problems and streamline the process. So for example, I know that very few times will X and U be placed next to one another. So I would probably never actually try that combination. Other different ones, EH is very rare, as is YE. So I would probably skip trying those ones just to save myself some time. Then there's the aha moment. Sometimes when I'm playing Words with Friends, I just see it. I've got those 7 letters and I've got the board and I just see it. And I play the word and I get like 50 points, woohoo! And I rock it. And my sister texts me and goes, what on earth? How did you even come up with that word? And I don't know. I just had it. It's called insight. So then there's hill climbing, which you get it, slow and steady wins the race kind of thing. Just keep moving progressively towards the goal. Sub goals, breaking it up, finding a means to the end. Working backwards, so starting with the solution and figuring out how to get there, right? Trial and error, keep testing stuff. This is Thomas Edison and the light bulb. Can I draw a light bulb? Let's find out. What do you think? Is that all right? It's terrible, but I hope you get it. Then there's incubation. Just put that aside. Go play your video game for a little while, but time yourself on the video game because you will get lost. Play for like 15 minutes. Give your brain a rest. And then come back. Most likely be able to figure out your problem. And then there's expertise in artificial intelligence. This is asking Google. That's asking Google. That's just going to a computer and asking them to do it for you. But you're also limited by the inputs, right? And you're limited by the way that the computer program solves the problem. So it may not always be the best idea. All right, solving problems, obstacles to that. There's confirmation bias, and I'm going to go the way I usually do as a political science. I'm going to go the political route. If you're a Democrat, let's use blue since it's Democrats. If you're a Democrat, you most likely watch CNN. If you're a Republican, you most likely watch Fox News. Now, you do that because people like to confirm their biases. People like to, they happen to notice the things that confirm what they already believe. So a Democrat's more likely to watch CNN because CNN is more of a liberal news channel. A Republican's more likely to watch Fox because Fox is more of a conservative news channel. This is confirmation bias. It's bias because it just continually confirms your beliefs. Now, if a Democrat were to try and watch Fox News, they would just be up in arms. It's outrageous, sort of thing. Okay, so mental sets. This is the tendency to perceive a problem that use past experience to frame a problem in a certain way. This can help or hinder. So this is like saying, think of a coal miner. Who do you think of? Probably a man, right? You don't think of a woman. Even though a woman's capable of doing the job, you wouldn't have thought of her because your past experience has never indicated to you that women are doing that job. So this is how your mental set can limit your problem-solving ability because it can limit the number of things that you actually think of. Functional fixedness, this is like thinking a chair is just a chair, when in actuality, a chair with some other chairs can also be a fort. Right? Remember that? You did that. I did it too. It was fun. Okay, moving on. So, creative problem solving. Here are all the different ways to do creative problem solving. I'm going to skip through it right now. Pause the screen and look at all of them. If you have questions, ask me tomorrow. All right, decision-making models. We got to make decisions all the time, but how do we do it? There's two different models really of how we do it. So there's compensatory model where we make a decision by allowing attractive attributes to compensate for unattractive ones. The pros outweigh the cons, basically. And then there's the non-compensatory model where we just say, you know what, I'm sorry, dude, she's really pretty, she's really sweet, she's really smart, she's really intelligent, but I can't handle that laugh, so it's a pass on this date. Not going out with her. Okay, faulty decisions, overconfidence, belief, perseverance, and intuition. So, are your decisions ever wrong? Well, here's 3 reasons why they could be. Having overconfidence. This is our tendency to overestimate the accuracy of our own knowledge and our own judgments. I think you can see how that could maybe be faulty. A lot of kids in their 20s do this, right? You tend to be risk takers. Oh, I'm really super healthy, so let me go try and skateboard off this cliff. Belief perseverance, the tendency to cling to our initial beliefs even after these decisions have been discredited. So, despite the fact that Pluto is no longer a planet, I still believe it anyway. Because that's how I was raised. Pluto's a planet, people. Okay, decision making. So, your intuition, framing your decisions, and pressure all factor into decision making. So, intuition is your automatic gut reaction, not involving explicit reasoning. This is when I ask you to come up with a hypothesis, you're using your intuition for that. This can lead us to sound decisions, but also to incredibly careless ones, right? Framing, the manner in which information is presented. So, here's a good example. Research has demonstrated that framing can have a profound impact on our decision making. For example, 95% success rate versus a 5% failure rate. Is it a success? Well, if 95% are getting it right, but 5% are failing, that's quite a bit who are failing. It really depends on the number, right? 5% of 100 is 5 people, but 5% of 20 is a lot more than that. So, high pressure. When decisions are required quickly, like in the ER, right, which is why we all love Grey's Anatomy and other, interesting medical dramas, right? Decision making, when the pressure is on, your decisions can either be better or worse. It just depends on who you are. All right, here's a good table. It's in your book. It's all of the different bad things about intuition and all of the evidence of intuition's power. So, all the pros, all the cons of your intuition. Explaining our decisions, we have hindsight bias. We have a tendency to view the impact of our decisions as inevitable and predictable after we know the outcome. We've done this a lot in class, you should get that. Counterfactual thinking, thinking about alternative realities and things that never happened. Often takes the form of, well, if only I had this, then I could be great at that. We often do that all the time. Okay guys, that's going to do it for this video cast, and I'll see you on the next one for language.